Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Talk to the Manager. I'm a bartender, and this last weekend a guy comes in with his friend and sits at the bar. They order some greasy food and a couple of bloodies to combat the hangover. One of them orders something that we are out of, that I didn't realize we 86'd when he ordered it. I go to put it in their order, realize it, come back and apologize, and they are chill about it. But he makes an "I'd like to talk to your manager" joke. He's laughing the whole time. I play along and say something dumb like, "You know what, we just ran out of those too," and they are laughing. But for the rest of their visit, every time I check on them, about 3 bloodies deep each at this point, he won't let it go. I'm still waiting to talk to the manager. At one point I get worried that he's serious and stare at him and say, "Do you actually want to speak to our manager? Because I can get one for you." He stared back at me for a good minute and then laughed and said, "No dude, I'm just messing with you." But still won't let it die. Next time I go over to check on them, a manager's behind the bar getting some stuff for the floor and he says it again. I smile because this manager is the best. Great with customers, but always has our back first and foremost. And she is up to her neck in BS this particular day and is not having anything. We call her Mary. He asks again. I say, "Are you sure you want to do that? She's having a pretty bad day." He says yes. I say, "Sure, she's right here." Guy looks delighted. Mary looks concerned, comes over and asks him what the problem is. He immediately starts backtracking, saying, "No, everything's fine, that's just been our joke today." And she is not having any of it. She's like, "No, if there's a problem, please let me know." Guy insists there is no problem. He is just messing around. Mary goes off on him. She's like, "Are you kidding me right now? I don't have the time for this." Saying how disrespectful this is, how there are people who actually need help right now, how they are wasting my time and making me look bad at the bar. Basically saying, why would you pretend about something like that? Either tell me your problem or screw off. Guy immediately regrets his decision. The fear on his face is palpable. I walk up in the aftermath and he says nothing. I say, "I told you she's having a bad day." They still tipped me well. The next story is called Call IT. I had a friend who worked as a processor for a small mortgage company. Small in that they had around 15 offices. She found another job and put in her 2 weeks notice. The person they hired to replace her quit 2 days before her 2 weeks were up, so her office was in a bind. In walks me. My friend told her boss she knew someone who could do the job, and that since she was friends with this person, she would be willing to train her after hours and on weekends. Plus, if possible, take calls during the week. That take calls during the week is important. So I was hired. The manager wasn't too happy about it, as I had no actual experience in an office setting, just college knowledge. But as long as my friend would help me, she said okay. But because of this, whenever I would ask my boss a question, she would immediately get upset and tell me to call my friend. Even for simple things like, where do we keep the stamps? This was the early 90s, and all our computer systems were DOS based and quite difficult to master. The #1 mortgage software at that time was a system called Contour. It was pretty non-user friendly for such a costly program. I was trained that if an issue came up, I was to fix it myself and not to contact Contour. I was given a list of common errors and how to fix them. I'm on my 4th day and an error pops up on the screen that I had never seen before and is not on my list. It states I am to call this 800 number and speak with a Contour technician to help clear it. I immediately call my friend, but she is not available right then and she is going through her own training. So I go to my boss. She tells me to call my friend. I tell her I tried, but she can't talk right now. She gets mad and starts swearing that she knew hiring me was a bad idea. I asked if there was anyone else I could call, and she said, "Just call IT." I reiterated to her I was told not to call Contour. She says, call IT. So I did. The contour technician was a sweetheart and walked me through how to fix the problem. To help in the future, the technician asked me to print a diagnostic page and fax it to him so he could see if there were any other problems, as I was new to the system. So I did. He thanked me and told me he didn't see any other issues, but to call him if I had any more problems. Cue the next day. My boss called me into her office and was livid. According to her, I just caused the company to have to pay $30,000 in licensing fees. It appeared the company had only bought 4 copies of the Contour program, but had installed it on way over 4 computers. My fixing the diagnostic page let the cat out of the bag. But since she told me to call IT, and the fact that firing me for exposing the company doing something illegal would also be illegal, all she could do was rage at me. She then called my friend and raged at her. From then on out, I refused to call my friend if I had any questions and just bugged my boss. She never did fire me. And towards the end, we became, if not friends, not enemies, until the company closed under mysterious circumstances a few years later. The third story is called Only This Company. Many years ago, I used to work for a company where overtime was really common. If we worked past a set amount of hours to a certain time at night, the company would pay for a taxi to take us home. I was happy with this arrangement and would do quite a lot of overtime and was really productive. I didn't like the people the company wanted us to use for taxis. They had on several occasions forgotten to pick me up. I and several of my colleagues started using an alternate taxi company, which I was happy with. The company I worked for told us we had to use their preferred company, even though they cost the exact same. I told my management I would prefer to use my preferred company, as there was no additional cost and they were more reliable. I would even prefer to hail a taxi, as they were common in that area. I was told to use only their preferred company, or I wouldn't be able to use one at all. So I did what they asked. I stopped using any taxis. I also stopped doing any overtime. My normal performance was the same, but the amount I would do in overtime made quite a big difference to our backlog of work. It took only 2 or 3 weeks for them to change their tune and allow me to go back to using who I preferred, as they really needed me doing that overtime. The last story is called A Man of Action. This one is from about 6.5 years ago roughly. Our office manager at our surveying office would every so often purchase a piece of land and make a subdivision off of it to make extra money. There was one property he bought. He had to hurriedly send us out to it to mark his property lines, since the next day a guy was coming to completely clear and de-stump the roughly 7-acre slot. While marking one line, this lady comes out and proceeds to curse us out and ask us what we were doing. My field crew chief at the time decided to take the "screw you, mind your own business" route. I thought better of it and decided not to be so brash about things. Now I knew what was getting ready to happen on the property we were marking. But best business practices are to know as little as possible about what is happening. I told her that someone had just purchased the lot and wanted to see where his lines were. She had been mowing some over the property line. She proceeded to tell me that she had broken 4 mowers trying to keep that lot cut back so she had more open space around the house, and that she was sick and tired of no one maintaining the lot. Equipped with the knowledge of what was coming the next day, I told her, "Well ma'am, I'm a man of action. And I am going to personally find the guy who has bought this property. I'm going to put my finger in his face and tell him he had better mow his property as soon as possible, or he is going to be dealing with me about it." Fast forward to the next morning. This huge tank-like machine went out, and by the end of the day there wasn't so much as a stump or tall weed left. Clean as a pin down to the dirt. The next day we had to come out and do a topo on the land for the engineer. I couldn't resist going and knocking on that lady's door. She answered and I said, "Ma'am, I told you I would take care of it. Anything else you need?" I just wanted them to mow. On the positive side, we were out there probably another 15 to 20 times doing the subdivision layout. She always threatened to shove a broken stake up my crew chief, but she told me she liked me and I was welcome on her property anytime. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.